Okay, so we finally started taking the truck apart. Transmission's halfway out of it. The wiring is coming off the engine right now. Brian's fighting the fuel line. So we're going to continue on with this. There's not a whole lot to film in this particular portion of it. But once we get the wiring harness out of it and the transmission out and the rear end out, then we're going to start going back together with it. I'm still waiting on the torque converter to get here. The axles are going to get re-drilled so I can still use Chevrolet wheels. But while I'm waiting for that stuff, I'm going to go ahead and start installing the Mega Squirt harness and maybe even get it fired up. It won't have a transmission on it, but at least we'll get ahead that way. So we're going to carry on with what we're doing, and we'll catch back up here in a minute. Okay, so we got the rear end out, the transmission out, and the HP tuner / aftermarket wiring harness out of the truck. So now it's time to start installing the MS3 Pro and the drop-on 24X harness that you see here. I'm really looking forward to this part of the project because this is really what's going to make the truck run and give it a lot of tunability that it didn't really have before. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that right now. Well, check it out. Okay, after only a few minutes of wrestling with it, the harness is already almost through the firewall and to their new homes. So I'm going to continue with that inside the truck. We'll come out here and plug everything in. Okay, we're getting near the probably somewhere around the 30-minute mark on installing this harness. And if the intake manifold was already on this thing, I would be starting it really soon. My guess would be a bare bones install, probably in the 2-hour range of getting your car running. I can't say enough good things about the people at DIY Auto Tune and AMPFI. Really made a good product. I'm really surprised. So anyways, I'm going to continue on. I gotta climb up in the engine bay and get to a couple of wires. The truck is real high off the ground right now because we had the transmission out of it. I think that's about the extent of it for the engine bay. I got to get underneath it and plug in the crank sensor and I think one wire on the starter. Okay, so one of the things you have to do to put this Mega Squirt harness on the truck is the harness is wired up for a 3-wire oil pressure sensor, like a pressure transducer you would find in, like data logging, things like that. So what I did first was, we took the intake manifold off, took all the wiring off and all that jazz, and I took a hammer and broke the oil pressure sensor, the stock one, on purpose. Reason being is it makes it easy to get out, to take off the engine with a regular socket and extension. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because what we're going to do is I have that sensor chucked up, or the remainder of the sensor chucked up in the lathe right now. And the way it's made, we can actually do a little bit of machine work to it, drill it and tap it, and turn it into an adapter for the pressure transducer that we're going to put in it. The reason why you can't put the pressure transducer straight into the block is because it has a weird 16mm thread. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, and I'm going to turn the camera over so you can see it. Okay, here we go. The funny part about this, a lot of the time these the factory oil pressure cylinders get broke because when you pull the engine in and out, it's the closest thing to the firewall and it ends up getting knocked off. So we're going to go ahead and make this one useful. of it. Okay, there's the first part. Now we're gonna get ready to drill it and tap it for an 1/8 inch pipe thread. Nothing too crazy there. I don't know how much that you can see in the camera there, but got some pretty decent threads in there. So there it is, one oil pressure sensor adapter, slightly modified and ready to go. All right, so everybody who likes to see things visually so they can understand what's going on, there's the sensor with the adapter screwed onto it. Now, for those of you who don't want to go through the trouble of making this thing or don't want to have the tools, you can do it by hand, by the way, with a drill and just putting it in the vise. It's just not going to turn out real straight and perfect, you know, like it does in a lathe. But you can buy this fitting already done from Autometer and, you know, any number of places. I think it's even for sale on Amazon for like $8 or $9. But anyways, that's what goes on the back side of the intake manifold, and that's the plug I was referring to. It's just a 3-wire, real generic pressure transducer sensor. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and put that in, put the intake manifold on, and then the engine bay wiring portion of it is already done. Looks like we got a quick intermission. There's a hummingbird stuck in the garage, so we're going to save him real quick. Okay, crisis is taken care of. Hummingbird in the garage was caught. Check out the pictures. And now we're back on track, so let's start the truck up, check it out. There hadn't been any tuning done on it at all. Oh, and the crossover pipe's not on it either, so that's probably freaking out the oxygen sensor, which really shouldn't matter because it's running in open loop right now, so that part shouldn't matter. But anyways, it does run, so check it out. Okay, well there you have it. We're going to call that a wrap. That's the end of the video. The truck is sitting here patiently waiting for the torque converter to get here, the axles to get here. I don't know what else is left. There's a handful of things that are waiting to get here. Should be here by the end of the week. So the next video is going to cover the narrowing of the 8.8. And then the following video will cover probably the installation of the 4L80 and maybe some tuning. I'm not quite sure how that's going to fall just yet. Anyways, as usual, thanks again for stopping by. I appreciate it. Be sure to follow along in the project. It's finally getting some headway. Things are really going to start turning around. So we're going to have dyno time, tracks, some drag racing involved, some street driving, all the cool stuff. So anyways, thanks again. Appreciate you stopping by. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. I don't know why you wouldn't. It's cool content. Thanks again. See you next time.